What's good, everyone? It's Venomous back with Game 3 of this best of 5 between the Prince of Marines in the bottom left, Maru Prime. No, not Prime. He will forever in my heart be Maru Prime, just like Marine King will always be Marine King Prime. But he's actually on a team called Jin Air Greenwings now. He's in the bottom left of Daybreak, and he is SCV scouting pretty damn quickly. His opponent is Showtime in the top right, the German Protoss. Showtime is a very good player, and it appears as though he's going to be scouting around for proxies. Interesting, as we see Maru's going to proxy. Dun dun dun! Showtime Cam, he sees it. How did he know? That is so weird. As he's going to be able to shut down this proxy, Maru just has to say, well, shit. He would probably think he might be a little hackerino if this wasn't in a real tournament. These are replays from a tournament called, I think the abbreviation is WESG. I don't know, check the description for sure, or to make certain. But we see Showtime here is going to try to block Maru, as Maru said, well, you know, my cheese failed, but I'm going to be obnoxious and block your natural. What can I do? And he's just trying to make up for the fact that he fell a little bit behind, considering, I guess he wanted a proxy Reaper? I don't really know what cheese that would have been. Maybe, I know a lot of Terrans have been doing, oh, double eBay, holy crap, that's irritating. As we see, Maru really wants to limit Showtime's ability to expand, so he's just building structures where Showtime wants to expand and then halting the production to stay in the way. And as soon as Showtime saw this eBay being put down, priority number one should have been to chrono out a Zealot. Oftentimes Protosses can be hell-bent on getting their expansion whenever they're used to it in their build. They really don't want to have to deal with getting the Zealot out. Ideally, they can save the 100 minerals, and they're hoping that Terran just cancels. Because this is especially true at the lower leagues. Obviously Maru, the god, the Prince of Marines, isn't doing this, but you know, in Gold League, the average Gold Leaguer is not going to want to have to worry about, like, okay, I have a 50 HP eBay over here, and at any moment, if he brings a couple units out there, I can kill it and lose the minerals. Ideally, it blocks your natural as long as possible, but most players don't want to have to worry about watching it and babysitting it and canceling it. And we saw Maru just canceled both of them there before he even saw the Zealot. But he does have an expand of his own. And how close is it? Well, pretty damn close. Reaper out here for Maru, as we see a Robo in the main, and Maru sees it too. So this is very interesting because Maru once again is not going to be caught off guard. Maru in a straight up game is incredibly hard to beat. I think that one of the things that we see him lose to are proxy plays, proxy Stargate. Now that's not to say that that's his weakness, but I much more frequently see Maru lose to builds like that than I see him lose to straight up macro builds. Now Showtime's kind of a macro Protoss. He doesn't really cheese a whole lot, as we see an Adept move out and try to run right onto the Reaper. And this is interesting because the Reaper still gets away. But mind you, this Adept is the post-nerf Adept, the nerf that occurred, what, a few months ago at this point, where the vision range was reduced for the shade. Before, the Adept threw the shade out, pretty much saw everything, and as of, I think, a couple months ago, now the shade really doesn't have very much vision. It's more of a risk to throw that shade out and take it. You know, you can kind of shade into a bad area, as we see Maru make a medevac here. He might go into a couple tanks here to be safe. Whereas before, the Adept was pretty much just absurd not instant, but absurd definite scouting. Another Widowmine drop is going to be the choice here, as Maru does lose that Reaper. But notice, very intelligently, Maru baited out an overcharge. Now Showtime definitely has the energy to spare, as again he's making multiple observers, a third observer on the way as he takes in a Robo Bay. And Maru is kind of wary. Oh, he's there, he mows down, or tries to mow down a Stalker, and the Mothership Core does go down, as I thought that's what he was going to go for initially. But the Stalker took a little damage as he drops in the natural here. Two Adepts here for Showtime. So once again, Showtime showing, yeah, I can kind of defend the harass. The thing that's so bizarre about Maru is his APM and multitasking ability is so great, where he tasks you more than any other pro gamer really. As far as Terran bio goes, he's quite frankly unmatched. So Showtime's a very good player who's very used to dealing with multi-prong harass. Obviously, he's a pro gamer, he's in GM. But Maru is just on a whole nother level. Like, Tien is really strong, but he can't really compete with the Saiyans. And Showtime's currently down 2-0 against Maru, and he kind of looks like he's trying to compete against the Saiyans here, as Maru has just been dropping him into oblivion. And Showtime's been putting up a pretty damn good fight, but at the end of the day, Showtime just kind of falls to this endless pressure, this endless non-stop deluge of harassment that Maru displays. And this is why people love to watch Maru. He just chokes people out with his harassment. Showtime has made multiple observers, and this observer spots this Liberator, so notice Showtime knows where this harassment's coming from and should be able to defend it without any problem at all. He has another pylon coming. Obviously this is for overcharge, but here we go. Here's Showtime. And he actually oh no, it's a Liberator, so it always does some damage. You know, he saw it with an observer, had a pylon on the way, had his units in position, but it was a Liberator, so it still did a little bit of damage. The drops are going to start here for Maru, and notice Showtime saw that. That was right in the range of an observer. So Showtime knows, okay, the drops are starting, but you can kind of tip your hourglass over and start the countdown here for Showtime, because quite honestly, there are a very few amount of people who can deal with multitasking as good as Maru's. Maru does not have combat shield yet, or +1. 2 Colossus are out. Of course, 2 Colossus with range, with a handful of support units, is kind of the magic number to stop medevac harass like this. Now, this is 2 Widowmine, 3 medevac harass, so this isn't your standard medevac harass. And combat shields are done, so this is pretty dangerous at this point. As you see, 2 Widowmines, 2 medevacs at a time here. Armor on the way. Concussive shells on the way, blink and +1 on the way. Maru drops in the main here. He has Widow Mines, and he follows it up with more drops in the main. Colossi comes out. This could be tricky for our German player, Showtime, who's currently down 0-2 in the best of 5. And Maru is continuing to aggress. He is ahead in supply. He started his 3rd base. He's doing more damage. Widowmine goes off there, only gets 1 kill, a Colossus falls, and this one is extremely low. Maru has the beautiful, beautiful positional advantage. He can snipe that OBS if he wants, and he does. So what I meant by positional advantage there is Colossi, if they get aggressed upon and units get right under them, they die instantly. So Colossi always have to be very wary and kite backwards. So until these follow-up units arrive for the Protoss player Showtime, it was a difficult job to defend. One thing that has been consistent throughout this best of 5 is Maru having an upgrade advantage, and it is extremely difficult to defend Terran drops whenever they have an upgrade advantage, because here we go, another drop at the 3rd. Whenever Terran has an upgrade advantage, their units, the Marine and Marauder, which of course Maru is famous for using, trade extremely cost effectively, and it's hard to DPS these units down whenever they're being healed. So another drop going down in the natural. Maru's saying, well, I'm kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place because of this overcharge, so he'll go back to the 3rd. Now, fortunately for him, there's no cannons. There's, of course, no OBS in this back corner between the 2nd and the 3rd. But Maru can just pick up again, and he has a little mine over here. Showtime doing a pretty good job defending. But this is Maru. This isn't, oh, well, if this drop does damage, maybe the Terran will get ahead. No, no, no. This drop is just like something that Maru does with a quarter of his brain, and he's half-assed paying attention to it and then really planning on dropping somewhere else. This is the difference between playing a very good Terran player and Maru. Maru is not only dropping you just as good as any other Terran player, But there is a master plan, an exceptional macro and micro, as he might just drop on top of everything here, and he drops a couple liberation zones, as well as a huge drop containing mines, but a lot of Protoss is here. And Maru's going to pick up what's left of that drop, fly into the natural. Nice cannon there, I love to see that from Showtime. Now it's just one cannon, so it's going to get belted anyway, but that's more useful against one medevac harass than this many. So Maru does a very aggressive play there, just trying to boss all over Showtime. He's going to drop into the main and then fake out with the rest of his medevacs and bring them over. Ooh, a nice blink there from Showtime. So Showtime showing that he's decent at defending these drops, but Maru has a third base. He's mule hammered the crap out of it. He's ahead in workers, but Showtime is ahead in supply. Upgrades are extremely important in this matchup, and Maru does have the upgrade advantage. Showtime is only single upgrading, and Maru is double upgrading. And once Terran gets 2-2, it can be very, very rough for Protoss if they're at an upgrade disadvantage. And remember, Maru is up 2-0 in this best of 5, so all he has to do is win one more game, and he will sweep Showtime. Another obnoxious thing about Maru is even though he has the best Marine Marauder micro, one thing you always have to worry about when you play him is he will very frequently incorporate Liberators and Mines into his drops. And we see he's constantly been dropping Showtime with Mines. And no matter how good you are, it's so hard to defend against players who use a lot of Mines in their drops. And we see a medevac does die there because Maru was dropping the main right as he dropped the natural. So Showtime cleaned up the drop at the natural, but this is Maru. There's never really just relying... He's so good, guys. He never just relies on one thing. He always has a backup plan. Mines and Liberators, so hard to engage from Showtime. So brutally, brutally difficult to engage into. And Showtime has one OBS. It's right here. And remember, Showtime had multiple OBS. I think 4 at one point in this game. That means Maru has been scanning and killing them. And that, look at that, a big Widowmine hit does hull damage to a Colossi. And that means that any subsequent Widowmine harass, Showtime's either going to have to bring his OBS over for, or he's going to have to make another Observer, and that means not making Disruptors or Colossi. +2 is on the way for Showtime, but 2-2 is about to finish for Maru, as well as +1 for these Liberators. And look at Maru sieging up right on that cliff. That's so irritating. Maru is playing very well here. He is scanning to try to figure out where Showtime's army is. And this is what's so tricky about playing Maru, is he aggresses with a huge army here, just seemingly out of nowhere. As remember, there wasn't a whole lot of observers anymore, because Maru killed them all. Showtime does have 175 supply here with Colossi, but a lot of Venn diagrams are out here in the middle of the map. Tons of Adepts being boosted out here, and do they go forward? Yes, they do! Right into all the liberation zones, and Showtime and Maru are going to have a knockdown drag out in the middle of the map here, but these liberation zones do a ton of damage, and Showtime runs Maru off. So nice phase in there from Showtime. He does manage to save his 4th base. Maru stems here, nice split. Notice how Maru splits back, gets a huge concave, and then kites forward with one side of his concave. And excellent splits there until the very last Disruptor shot. And Blake coming forward here, picking off a few Vikings, but another Disruptor gets just one measly Marauder, and 2 Colossi go down. And suddenly Showtime's in this awful situation where he doesn't have any splash, and that's when you get ripped apart by Marauders. Showtime throwing more Disruptors forward, but he's really lost the backbone of his army here, which is the Colossi. The Disruptor's kind of cute, but it's not really something you can rely on completely whenever you're playing someone as good as Maru, because Maru can just out-micro Disruptors. And Maru is going to focus this pylon here. This 4th base might be forfeit pretty soon. Actually, he might pick up. Oh, actually, he's going to drop again onto the 4th base. And the upgrade advantage really paying off here for Maru. It's just 1, but he's researching +3. And Showtime GG's. So Showtime loses. He gets swept 3-0 by Maru. And it's nothing to be ashamed of. Maru's a legend, a fan favorite. Make sure you subscribe for more.